Welcome viewers, welcome Bakwetu family to the late night Bakwetu Crew program. I'm your host, Patrick Chilufya from Sussex, United Kingdom. And my co-hosts are Dr. Barbara Chanda and Kelevai. Good evening, Dr. Barbara Chanda.
Good evening, Patrick. Good evening, Kelevai. Like always, good evening, everybody, wherever you are in Zambia, wherever you are up around the world. And again, just so you remember, first things first, if you're watching us, if you're on YouTube, you just click the likes, share the buttons. On Facebook, again, click the stars, share the buttons, and again, don't forget to join the Bakwetu family. Today we had a bit of hiccups with our technical issues, so we did come up and it only went on YouTube, so we had to relaunch the program again. So good evening, everybody, and again, join the Bakwetu family wherever you are in any part of the provinces of Zambia. Just join us and join the club. Over to you, Kelebai.
Kimanzibwani sichabasahesu sichabasabulozi komulutwela kaufela basenanga kalabo ukulu sesheke manaulenga machile lingulyangulia sichili mulobezi kiluna wake lumitela ape manzibwani ha ni program ya luna Bakwetu na sepa muka tona niluna manzibwani kona singanyi saikambwa niluna saluna se so amulu fetu ma support twamina, give us all the support that we need those big stars, we need those contributions, and Twalumbaka party to everyone that are watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelevai and Dr. Barbara Chanda. Our viewers, we're coming late, but we couldn't just stay, without giving you the information. There's so much happening on social media in Zambia, and we thought we should come live, though late, and talk to you guys. Yeah, one of the news on media today is that finally Honorable Lusambo has been arrested. Yesterday he was warned and he was cautioned and warned, but today he's been arrested on 4 counts of possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime contrary to Section 71, subsection 1 of the Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act number 19 of 2010. And then there are also 2 counts of concealing property. Apparently, these properties were concealed in another person's name by the name of Mbachi Nkwazi. Bakwetu, for how long are we going to talk about corruption? Just yesterday, we talked about corruption, and as if it was enough. And we also heard the good news that the Chief Justice has now come up with a new court that will speed track some of these crimes, the white collar crimes, or what they call economic plunder crimes. Bakwetu, I will start with Barbara, ladies first. For how long are we going to talk about corruption? And what is your comment about Mr. Lusambo's arrest? Let's just talk about, these are facts now. He's been arrested. When they went to check his house, he made a lot of comments, silly comments, attacking the president. But we'll talk about that part later. But let's just talk about 4 counts of properties. So which means these properties, Mr. Lusambo cannot explain how he bought them. And 4 in the Copper Belt and 2 in Lusaka. And in Lusaka, they were concealed. He bought those properties and put in somebody's name. What can you say about Barbara about that?
Thank you, Patrick. Just like we were saying yesterday, is in the last government there was so much corruption, and the problem with the PF corruption is because it was embedded. It became a normal practice. So when they are talking about injustice, they genuinely believe they're being persecuted because from where they're standing, that was their money, that was theirs. When you believe so much in a wrongdoing that it becomes normal to you, that's what they were doing. When you look at Lusambo Shimpundu, you see that this guy does not have any remorse whatsoever. He's not somebody saying, I could be wrong or I was wrong. He genuinely believes he was right. That's why yesterday I said he's the person who actually said Panji Kaunda that it was so shameful for the Kaundas to get out of a government where their father was a president without being millionaires. So as far as he's concerned, being in a position of power is equal to becoming somebody very wealthy, very prominent, because that's what it translates to in the position where he is. And then you have to understand the dynamics as well of how third world country politics work. There are so many poor people, so you can literally pay anyone to come and support you. I can give you an example. When I went to Zambia for my mother's unveiling of tombstone, I was wondering how from seconds they were finding a choir to come and sing. And all they were telling me, oh, don't worry, as long as Mwabashtila Lanchi, Mwabashtila drink, within 2 minutes, there were like 20 people have already arrived. They're singing. Some have already made their own plano. I'm a t-shirt. If I could have stood in that position looking like there are all these people supporting me, whether I didn't even know them just because somebody planned to give them food. That's the same thing. If somebody lives in Europe and they see him standing with all these people busy laughing, oh, bomber and bulldozer, you think that maybe these are people who he knows. These are paid cadres and they don't care. because as long as they can have breakfast, lunch from that money. The worst thing is now trying to look like they are being persecuted, but you have to remember, we have to keep in mind, remember when, what's his name, the former ambassador to Ethiopia came onto our platform, he mentioned something that I really want us to put an eye on when he said that we cannot be going after people who committed crime because it will look like they're being persecuted. So from that statement, they've already made up, like a template of how they're supposed to be reacting against what they're being told. They should look like they're being persecuted. They should look like they're being treated badly when they're actually the people who are bad. Over to you, Kelebai. Mr. Principal has just come on.
Oh, yeah.
Over to you, Kelebai.
You have said it all, Barbara. Thank you so much. It is what I see when you are facing a criminal charge. You have been charged. You don't rush to the media and start exculpating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
See, these are the signs to show that someone is desperate and is trying to come and wash these linen in the public. But the Zambian people are not stupid. They can see through. We are the people that we were the recipients of all the boasting around and all the threats, the intimidations. You remember even during Corona, somebody took upon the heart that does not belong to him, went on the street, start now regulating as though he's a health minister, or start talking about masks. He had no clue. This chap has no idea what he was doing. And suddenly, I'm just looking at these guys. For example, Honorable Munduvila. This is a learned person. Why would you even allow? What kind of legal advice do you give somebody who is facing a criminal charge, goes into public domain, instead of his lawyers speak for him? That is what we know. Innocent people don't rush and start opening their mouth anyhow. No mbaba Lusambo vale mwana kwati the Zambians kuti waisa fe pamwela then no kwambo kulanda and they start talking as though no paint a picture of that vale persecute. IMF and the houses, they are two different issues altogether. This chap is misunderstanding. He has misunderstood what is currently going on. He has no clue why he has been charged. He has no clue how many property he has himself. He can't even review to the public to say, I have this property. He claims this is under public. I cannot reveal to the public. But the government, here they are, through the state machinery. They have just told the nation, Uyumulumendo yu, alikwatama flats, ayalianga, or amayandalianga, 49. These are issues that, these are the people who were busy negating and suspecting. They were even suspecting that Omwinewama 48 flats, those unclaimed, came from where? From UPND. Balela and the fingi sana. They were the people that people talked. But what happened? Kanshvena, Bakwetu, Amayanda, 140 chakuti, Lusambo, Ayakwata Mayanda 40 chakuti. What kind of business? Genuine businessmen in Zambia, genuine businessmen, they struggled. During the financial crisis and during the PF economical crisis, they were having difficulties to just pull out, to pay even their workers. Then somebody who has never been to business school, not even a certificate panipa, nothing. Then it comes up with dividends as though I'm a profits. 1,000 profit, no kwambo kushitama flats. Come on, you guys. We are not children. Even our children today, they can even ask. They are much far way better than this chap who's trying to cry fire when he has been caged, he has been cornered. And we are going to grab those things, and they're coming back to our people. So Lusambo, take a
all that thought we'll come to that. Yeah, we'll talk about that part.
He nurses his family. He has put his family in so many difficulties right now. I pity that woman.
Hold that thought, Mkelevai. Thank you so much. But Barbara, you mentioned something very important. These guys, like, they are the sense of ownership. They are they thought that money, what they were doing wasn't wrong, because imagine corruption in 10 years. Nobody was arrested, nobody was prosecuted. Ngabaya kukoti vale anama chief na abantu bonse. So, and then the judges were intimidated. So these people, they thought, imagine if their president himself was saying as long as Tamuri Lembutu. Can you believe it? And then this man, when Panji Kaunda reported Tasila, Chimutengo Mwansalungu, whatever, ba Panji vale under 2 million, then ba Lusambada 2 million ni change. And then Panji was supposed to make money when he was the son of the president. So Ababantu, they were abusing that office at the expense of the Zambians. And then Barbara, I don't know Abantu Yumfa Kuzambia Valley Kwatendalama. How, because people have got money all over the world. Once they are arrested, they don't talk that nonsense. They've got public relations advisors. They won't even be talking. It's the lawyer who will be talking, or some personal advisor who will be talking. I don't know if family members or our kashikunganda, our filo kubachita advisor, because a normal person does not talk like that. And that's the kind of leadership. That's the minister you had. Kapova. Shame to Lungo. No wonder our country is in a mess, because we had leaders. I don't think we should even call them leaders. We had Kabovas like that at the helm of power. And then Barbara, going on the same thing of corruption. You remember Amos Chanda, the presidential head, the equivalent of our Anton Buaria now. And corruption also, they must have been tipped. They went to his house, much earlier than Lusambo. And when they went to his house, they found title deeds. And this man, I don't know whether he thinks Zambians are stupid or the investigation wing are stupid. He said the title deeds they found in his house is renting that house, and those are the title deeds of the landlord. Who keeps the title deeds of the landlord? And he talked nonsense. And now he's been warned and cautioned. And look at this government. It's so systematic. They went to Amos Chanda 2-3 months ago, and he talked nonsense, and then they just kept quiet. They were investigating in the background. Now they've warned him. The next thing, Amos Chanda will be charged. If it was in the previous government, these people will be rotting in the cells before they are charged, even warned. 15 houses, Barbara. This is a person who is a civil servant. Even people who own organizations, rich people, they cannot have those properties. Chanda, 15 properties. What can you say about that? I will start with you, Mkelevai, because you might be thinking now, I favor women. So I'll start with you, Amos Chanda. Please, let's stick to the point. 15 houses suspected of proceeds of crime. Thank you. You are muted, Mkelevai.
mu Zambia n'enchito sha shupa efi na economy yale shupa efi wamono omuntu aisa ati pambiribiri ati no, I hereby resign. When you have a very good position that every person would fight for, would kill for, and then somebody just comes in from without and say, Nafireka. And when we also have the audios that were circulating in the country, and thank God to technology, because everything that PF was doing, Philippa Mbiribiri, we have all the evidence, and I'm very positive that the prosecution and the judges, I don't think they will have difficulties to know the caliber of the people they are bringing that will be faced with these criminal charges. They have all the evidence. We have the evidence. Of course, we need to adduce those evidence as they were produced or rather taken, either legally or illegally. The judges will decide. But to be honest, the Zambian people are aware. We know ba Amos Chanda, oko ba fuma, toale ba mona, ofe ba kala, before and after. So there's nothing they can tell us, ama guys, about, they just played magic. And then suddenly, atilesa, actually, babe pesha murilesa, atilesa, ali bachita bless, So that is not going to be, that's not going to work. And now, lesawine, eule tulanga tibane, do not take the name of your Lord, your God in vain, for he will not hold you guiltless if you take his name in vain. It is not okay by PF or anyone, or by UPND, to use the word of God, to take the name of God in vain, just to perpetrate, or rather to promote your career, or rather to try to ukushinga bata kubantu iyo lesa ni maniopola. Things that you are going to take advantage of, you will come back and you will be in this position that you are today. Don't blame persecution. You created these problems. I will keep on repeating, it is in the public domain. We saw, we know, and even your bululus, your own relatives and Amos Kabalashes, your girlfriends, side chicks, they know. They are right now clapping, or they're just folding their arms and say, yeah, nomba babe kata, abakula tuta support, abakula tulipira rentos ni ba nani. When you are a simple civil servant. So, Patrick, we are not surprised. I'm not surprised that Amos Chanda today, he has been cautioned and soon probably will be charged, arrested. And thank you, SCC. Thank you so much, and do your diligent work, because we want, if it means supporting you, SCC, Nava DEC, Nava financial intelligence officers, you are our heroes. You are our CIAs of our Zambia. And we shall lobby for funds for you to make sure that you put these chaps where they belong, because they took advantage over our heads. That.
Thank you so much, Mkelebai. Dr. Barbara, what's your take on that?
My take on, these Chanda names, my brothers and my relatives, they're a problem. In other families, if you throw a stone, it will land on a PhD. In the Bembaland, if you throw a stone, it will land on 3 thieves, criminals, some educated people, but it's Nikaofela, everything is mixed up. So, Amos Chanda is a bit like, there's a case of Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a multiple personality guy. I actually watched him. He came on I think it must have been on Diamond TV, and he was talking about how he's being persecuted and people are following me. They are coming to me. They still have not found anything. As I was listening, it was kind of making a little bit of sense. But then things were not adding up, because I'm looking at this guy speaking. I'm thinking, this is the same house where somebody told somebody that you can't enter a room because only women go into this room. So these two are not adding up. Then you say, oh, the title deeds belong to somebody else. Again, I'm thinking, surely you can't keep title deeds of the owner of the house in the house where you're renting. So there's so much that was going on in PF. The entitlement was over the, over the bar. And we have to make it very clear to everybody that, when we talk about corruption, corruption is above party lines. When we're talking about stealing from the taxpayers' pocket, it's not about UPND, it's not about PF, it's about Zambian people. Because some people may think, oh, maybe it's the UPND are just trying to talk about people who used to be in PF. No, even if it's a UPND minister who suddenly next week he's bought 50 houses, is that will still say the same thing. The taxpayers' money is taxpayers' money. And the cost of lives that goes out, because it's so easy to, when you look at all the properties that people have and how they've accumulated wealth, it looks funny until you look on the other side. If you go to a hospital there where there's no medication because there was little supply, you see all these women coming into the hospital, some of them, if I tell you how many people have died just between trying to get to a hospital when they are pregnant to give birth, because there's no ambulance, there's no system to help them. And then you have people amassing so much wealth that can supply ambulances. In a distance, in a small distance within, in developed countries, in a small distance, you can have access to maybe 30 ambulances. With a call center, you have a problem, a person can call, they'll come and, trained people will come and have access to that person who's ill. In Zambia, we don't have that. But what it costs to have that is what is in the houses of all these people. The ambulance that can rush to an accident when it happens and they put oxygen on somebody and, we help them. That access to that is what is in the buildings of what these people are building. So when people start trivializing corruption, you have to narrow it down to what does it mean? Where did the money come from? Why did it go where it went instead of it going to the rightful place? What it means is, I go to Zambia, I'm selling an injection, which is supposed to be 10p. I tell the person that it's not 10p, it's £3. And then we share, we give, instead of even giving the one that is 10p to the person who's ill, we actually go and give the one that is 0p, which is just not even 0p, the one they've thrown in the bin. And then we share the money that we were supposed to use to supply to those who are ill. That's where all this money is coming from. So when you see these people so proudly saying, oh, I'm being persecuted, I'm being this, it's really shameful. And it's not just shameful to them, they're putting a shame on their own families. It's really painful to have the parent having to go into a prison. If you understand what a parent going to prison is, some people went into prison because of politics, like in Kaunda's time, UPP and all those things. Imagine growing up and being told your father was actually the person who's the reason this came out to be what it is. It's very shameful, and they don't see that. Over to you, Patrick.
Barbara and Kelevai, 100% agree with you. Corruption is cancer. It's a demon. But Barbara, what surprises me is, for the last 6 years or so, we've been having those National Day of Prayers on the 18th of October. And nobody, preachers, we're talking about preachers, well-known preachers in our country. I'm not going to mention their names. They are Pentecostal pastors. I'm Pentecostal, so I don't want trouble. But these are Pentecostal pastors. None of them mentioned corruption as one of the prayer items. And Barbara, this corruption, today, arrested by Amos Chanda today. Arrested by Honorable Lusambo today. We talked about it. We fought about it. You know, and then the same corruption by Barbara Bamkelevai. We fought it in MMD government. I myself, I supported MMD government. And when the corruption started, I decided to quit politics, leave Zambia, because I couldn't stand that corruption from the party that I supported. So, our bantu belabe pesha ati persecution. And then belabe pesha also mutundu, that they are just persecuting ababe mbaraba kuchipata. If ingawa ababe mbaraba kuchipata eba leiba, they are the ones who had the jobs. Look at the IDC boss. Barbara. So, is he a politician? No. But they were stealing. It was endemic. And then Barbara Lusambo, at whatever chita persecuting near church. But Barbara, the law is very clear. The law says, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So Lusambo, let him show the nation that he's clean, because he cannot just make all that noise and he's not clean. And then I've also noticed when I was reading, I don't know whether you guys noticed that these people are charged contrary to Section 71, subsection 1 of the Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act number 19 of 2012. It looks like they are using the same, what we talked about yesterday. Instead of the criminal route, they've gone on the civil route, like what they did with Faith Musonda. I would love, before we move into another topic, I would love you to comment on that. Is that the best way of recovering our assets? Thank you. Barbara, over to you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I think that's the best way. Reason being, we don't want to spend any extra money trying to recoup our own money. It's like somebody steals maybe 3 million, and then we as a government spends another 10 million trying to get back the 3 million. It's better to spend maybe 500,000 to get back the 3 million. It just makes economic sense. Having said that, like I said yesterday, it has to be like a two-way system. If they actually have crimes that they need to be locked up for, they should be locked up for if there's evidence for that. If they don't have, then they can, just forfeit give back what they've stolen and move on. Because that chance is available for them. The Vice President mentioned it, and he's been mentioning it for months. So if they want to do that, they can still do that. The only problem is, as a country, we have to learn that we cannot go on accepting to be called poor because of lack of self-management. There is poverty because you don't have any means. Places like Dubai, they didn't have anything. They didn't have water. They didn't have, mention it. They managed to recreate their land to the best of their ability to marvelous standards that it looks like a miracle. Whilst those people who've got resources like ourselves, like in Zambia, we don't want to capitalize our resources in order to build and develop our country, develop our land, develop our processes, educate our kids, our children. I believe all the Zambian kids are my children as well. I don't want to see my children clapping for thieves, politicians who are stealing money, just shouting as carters. I want them to be in school. I want them to be learning skills. I want them to be doing some form of entrepreneurship for those who can. For those who can't, they can be learning a new skill, being in education, or doing if they've got talent, doing what they like to do the most. If they can sing, if they can do boxing, if they can do football, just be the best that you can be as a human being. Instead of, in the past, our politicians have been using our children to stamp on them to create this welfare that they have. And then they go to the prison, they still call these young people to start clapping for them. Oh, bulldozer, bulldozer. No. We want those kids. Just give a bit of that money to those kids to learn their skills, and they can be independent. They don't need that money. It is shameless. The worst thing about it is even using racist language, using regionalism to make it look like.
Barbara,
Okay.
I'll be coming to that in a minute. Yeah, Kelebai, what's your take on that?
You have raised a very cardinal point, Patrick, about the clergymen that opted to look the other way around, or rather receive an envelope and goes and talk about something else. So this is so sad. This is what I'm saying. Let us try to avoid this hypocritical type of attitude. Mwema church elders or churches, look at the moral standard that we have in Zambia today. But meanwhile, churches are full every Sunday or Saturdays or Wednesdays. They are fully packed. People going to ask for forgiveness or mwelesa. But look at what they are doing in their offices, not just in government, even in private sectors. If these things are happening, the moral code, the moral standard, our moral, I don't know where we have taken our moralities, Vane. We have also thrown away our tradition, our customary laws. We have thrown them away. Today we disrespect elders. Today we can even insult on public media. We can say all kind of crazy stuff. And nobody, not even a church elder, would come out and say and denounce such kind of statements. Some statements come from the ministers, the people that we entrust to be the custodian of ministries. You see, so our churches nabo, I have a problem with them na busy asking people pay tithe, even from the tithe. And you expect congregants, when they go into government, you want them to sit back and relax because it is coming from there. They somehow probably they are also being taught or advised. It's the same thing even in the legal professions, in all these professions. Look at what is happening. The Minister of Health moved previous government. You had so many doctors. I'm just giving an example, but just let me finish this. Look at the Minister of Health, for example, or look at the legal fraternities. Look at how the nolle prosecutors were entered and unnecessarily. Look at the justice system. There was a dark cloud on our justice system. And when somebody is trying to bring some kind of light, and all of us, we want to go back and start demonizing the people who are trying to shed a little bit of light to say, look, this is how you deliver, this is how you get justice. So if you folk to this, it pains me to see that suddenly some of these legal experts or lawyers, they are now experts in criminal or rather in corrupt cases, that they are everywhere. Wherever there's a case of criminal or purported corrupt issue, they are there already, leaving other experienced legal counsels that have been in the country that have been practicing for years, 20, 30, 40 years. So one would tell to say, and however, they are the same chaps that were even in government. These are the chaps misleading Abena Lusambo. Because Lusambo, there's no way he can even start coming out like that, dancing like a headless chicken. He is getting some kind of advice from the senior societies.
Okay, Kaleba, I hold that thought. We'll be coming to that point. Thank you so much. Thank you, Barbara. But Barbara, the point I was trying to drive home here is there's been so much corruption in the last, I think, from MMD. And we thought Sata coming into power, because PF came into power on the backdrop of fighting that corruption that was in MMD. The economy was good, fundamentals were in place, but there was corruption. And then we've got people like Lusambo, as Mkeleba mentioned. They've been found wanting. And they've started making statements. Like today, he made some statements calling HH that Balabateka Ngombe. How can you? Because to me, those are racist comments. You know, that's tribalism. And then this is a man under their government. He wouldn't even say that. He would be arrested. He will be picked up. But the question about Barbara is that corruption is so deep-rooted that Lusambo, even after being found wanting, is behaving as if he's being persecuted. Everybody now. So, and look at the corruption in the parastatals. Look at the corruption everywhere. It becomes so endemic. Well, Barbara, you mentioned, you gave an example of the UK. Mkeleba, you are in Norway. There's no corruption. But Barbara, the first time I went into the hospital in the UK, I cried for Zambia. I was like in a 5-star hotel. When I cry, they would bring sandwiches, everything. Then I was wondering, am I in the hotel or somewhere? That is, and there were more nurses than the patients. But that is as a result of less corruption. That's why the government is able to provide for its people. They pay the pensions. Just the government pension in the UK can make somebody survive because there's no corruption. The corruption is very minimal. But the question I have for you, Mkeleba and Barbara, that corruption of the last 15 years or so, part of MMD, is so much deep-rooted. These people became so powerful, they wanted to control everybody. How are we going to come out of that disease? What are the solutions? What's the way forward? Over to you, Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. You know, like you've said, the corruption is overwhelming. And going back to Bowman Lusambo, you know, part of it is not even his fault if you look at it. He was brought up in a society where you had to survive, be whatever you want to do. He came into politics for his age. He's in his early 40s or mid 40s. He joined politics during the time of the new MMD when, you know, when Chiluba was coming. You know, people used to say Chiluba leta bakaponya bakopa belta baleta kulusaka. That phase, so he managed to put himself into the political stadium of Zambia to become a player. And from there, he learned from the people before him that once you become this person, you can get whatever you want. And then the way we treat people who are supposed to look after our money is something that we also have to change. We have to educate our children that you don't have to treat your minister like your God. He's your employee. Just like HH said, the current president, he said, I'm your servant. If we install that mindset, even to crawl down to the young people that position is supposed to serve us, If I pick up the phone to call the council, if I pick up the phone to speak, if I'm in the hospital and the nurse is giving me a cup of coffee, she's not doing me a favor. It's her job. We have to change that mindset of thinking somebody's doing you a favor. No, you're not doing me a favor. I remember seeing Woman Lusambo in a meeting, I think it was a Teams meeting or Google, team meetings online. He was talking down on one of those workers that he works with in the most pathetic way. He even told the person to get out of there, and you're talking when I'm talking, because he genuinely believed he was higher than God. And then that kind of person, if he goes and say, I want to have a contract, who will refuse? They'll just give it to him because that's what it was. That's where the problem is. And then the religious side of things in Zambia, it goes down to the traditions that we have. Our Pentecostal churches, even some of our Catholic, I'm Catholic, even some of our Catholic parties and some churches, they've married the traditional aspect of our lives and religion. People don't go to church because they want to change their morals. People go to church because they want to become wealthy. They want to move from poverty to well-being. So people go to church to pray, God bless me so that I should also buy a car. Or I'm fasting so I should have a new house. I'm fasting so my child should go to school. People are fasting for those things. They're not fasting to have a better life as in everybody in the street. Is each man for himself. When you look in developed countries and everywhere else, as you gave an example of Patrick, like in the hospitals, all these places, these things did not come about because part of it, there was no corruption. Part of it, when you love your neighbor as yourself, you reduce on corruption because you know that what I have, the next person should have. If a person just down the road here, if a person is hit on the road here in Europe, here in Manchester, wherever you are in UK, in the morning you see flowers, teddy bears where the person has been killed because people feel the loss of that person, even if they don't know the person. It's just somebody just says somebody got hit by a car on that road, they'll buy teddy bears, flowers, because that person is important. If a child is lost somewhere, they will look for that child. Now on our streets, I can be in a Mercedes Benz, I can be in the biggest car known to man, and still give 1p to a street kid and not worry about them. Maybe even go home and slap one of the street kids because they don't mean anything. Until we start respecting life, we will not respect anything. How can a person who respects life steal so much money in a city where people don't have medicine? And then not even have any remorse whatsoever to say, you know what, I've made a mistake. I was overzealous. I brought shame to my family and the country. I'll reform. I'll do this. No, in Zambia we don't have those sentiments. You just come and say, blah blah blah. People are jealous of me. Oh, HH is after me because he made overnight money and blah blah blah. If HH had even stolen 1p, I can guarantee you he would have been locked up. Not even Muchimbo Kaila. They would have made the prison for him underground. He would have been now rotting forever. It's because they couldn't find anything on him. That's why he's still there. Over to you, Kelebai.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Me, the question which Victor, Patrick put of what is this? What are we going to do? What are we supposed to do to avoid what we are going through right now? How do we get out of this? Right now, the response, Mombo Chirufia, is that right now, things are, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that the new Dawn government, they are trying their best. And there's political will among everybody that is in the government today to fight corruption. You know, we should understand one thing, that fighting corruption, like you have put it, Bachirufiat, it's a cancer that has come into the country, and for us to eradicate it, it will take time and it needs personal sacrifice. not sacrifice here kulipira ma bills inshi, but sacrifice coming from our hearts. We have to just be clean and say, the way I brag, the way you hear me all the time bragging, like we the Lozis, we are very incorruptible, you know, something like that. But I know that there are some Lozis who are very terrible, like even I don't want to mention their names, Mwabaziva, who have just everyone now is just it's the same thing. There's so much moral decay in our country today, and starting from the leadership itself. So we can only fight this with what is currently going on. There's the criminal proceedings that is going. The state versus an individual that has stolen. Also, the state can go the civil way, where they just summon you, request for you to come to the office and sit down and give you that kind of amnesty. Not wishimana mkwatama issues mwali senda, you cannot account for this. So could you kindly explain how you acquired this? And then if you don't, to Penny, we are getting what you have gotten. So right now, what is Lusambo is going through, that's a criminal case. And it is going to go, depending on what the DPP is going to say, whether to take up this matter and prosecute, after the DPP goes through, and the prosecution authorities, they go through the so-called documents that are the evidence, then they will sit down and decide. Sometimes it will be a sheer waste of time taking somebody to court who is already guilty. The information that you have is so overwhelming that you will waste much time and money. You'd rather just tell him, Taukwete, you have nothing here. We are getting everything that you have acquired whilst serving in this position. Sometimes he could have used his own money, but it could be the favors that he got or used his authority. That's abuse. When you use your position as in a government to get favors or contracts, like what we saw Muliva Kambwili when he was trying to extort money from the bank governor, for the governor. That case also was SEC. Please, it is not hidden. It is in a public domain. We need a probe Kambwili as well over that case. The governor is not dead, is alive, is much around.
Let's hold that thought for now.
Let me go back to my point, Chirufya, that what the government is doing right now is fighting corruption, and which is the best way out of this. And when we hear people crying, we should not even start to sympathize with them, because we know what they put us through. We know the current situation right now in Zambia. We are having problems. We can't even increase or decrease the fuel prices. We can't decrease on commodities because in our coffers, there's almost nothing. And money is hidden within these people. And imagine, this is just a fraction. It's a small number. How many were they? Bambina Batalala, they are in hibernation. You know what they're doing? They are quiet. People like even a GBM. So you know what I'm talking about. Let me not go further. Let me end here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barbara Mkelevai. You spot on. You've all agreed there's a cancer here. There's a demon in our midst. Look at the corruption that was going around. You know, our women became slave queens. You know, our children, they never thought thought education was important. They would rather become cadres. What's the point of becoming a doctor or a teacher, or when cadres are making more money, or just become a politician? So that brings me to another point: education system. do you guys think, because I was thinking, because the fact that the corruption has become cancer, has gone to the root of everything. Don't you think we need to start teaching our children going forward that, the pros and cons, the benefits, of corruption, so that they start understanding? There are kids now who are in primary school, they are receiving free education. And then they will reach a secondary school education or tertiary, they will need money also. Don't you think our education system needs to change? Start teaching people about corruption, the evils of corruption, how government operates, how does the government make money? If people are corrupt, the government can't provide services like free education, provide medication in the hospital. The question I'm posing to you, both of you, starting with Barbara, you just finished your part. Is our education fit for purpose? What should we change? Do we need to change our education system? Because if you look at University of Zambia, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, was amongst the top 10 universities in Africa, maybe one of the top 500 or 100 universities in the world, but we are not even closer to there. What is your take on that, Barbara?
Thank you so much, Patrick. To start with, I'm pro-Zambia, as you may know. Our education system is very good. It's actually one of the best, historically, as I speak, because we've produced a lot of fantastic people. We've produced people who've come to Europe and gained OBEs, become respected in their respective areas of expertise in medicine, in engineering, and they started off from a Zambian education. So the foundation of the Zambian education is fantastic. The rating of education is exactly like the way the dollar works. It's on confidence. If the people coming from a particular education system are not showing the confidence that they should have, that system goes down. That's the reason, you find people talking about Oxford and Harvard and all that for the rich people, not because so much about what happens there, but because the societies in which these universities are based, they want to keep that profile of that education. That's where enhancing our education system comes in. How do we want the world to see our University of Zambia? We should all chip in. We should have a research center there. We should have investigations being done there. We should have a money-making system right there, so that the people should make money within the body of the education system that they are in, so that they can do more things. Ultimately, the way you move up in grading education is based on research and what's happening in those schools. Coming to educating on corruption, like for our young people, so that they're growing up knowing all these things. In Zambia, they do have a very good system about educating and enlightening people about what's going on, education, sex education, all those things are there. The ones who have a problem are not the young people, it's the people when they go in government. Now, why does it change? Why is it that the same people who were young, why is it that if me who's talking here, all of a sudden I'm made a minister, all of a sudden I become corrupt? What happens between me now and me becoming a minister? It's the process, between even the ones who've now become ministers now in the UPND, the way we treat our leaders is what causes them to think they're above a certain level. So they start yearning to be socialites. They start yearning to be, all of a sudden you start feeling like you're also from the royal family. all of a sudden you start feeling like, oh, come on. When I went on a meeting to America, I stayed in the Plaza Hotel so I can recreate this in my own home, but using taxpayers' money. So the education for young people is there, but it's our responsibility to enhance it, to protect it, to be so that it can be the best that it can be. You know, for example, let me give you an example. The British people are good at praising their systems. You never find the British person telling you that our education system is rubbish, because that's what markets it. So even as Zambians, the minute we start being proud of our things, the minute we start being proud of saying there's a restaurant at the University of Zambia where you can go, there's a research center where you can do this at the University of Zambia, you can do printing at the University of Zambia, you can buy T-shirts from the University of Zambia, you make it about who you are. That way, that university also becomes autonomous, it starts making its own money, and it starts raising its value. Even in primary schools, you give, in Kaunda's time, unfortunately or fortunately enough, these were the people who were not even really educated. Kaunda's government, they had a system where they would choose the best kids all over the country to go to another school. We can still have that, choose the best kids wherever they may be, sponsor them, make them a better person so that, they have access to this education, to more facilities, make education transparent, make it fun. Our exercise books, the learning curriculum is still quite old. In the current world, you can still emphasize that. We can still work on things to, catch up, because right now we have a two-tier system. We have a tier system for the poor and the rich. A child of a rich person in Lusaka is just exactly the same as a child going to a private school in the UK. They have the same access. Some go to American international school. And then you have the poor people who are now worse off, like 20 centuries behind. So we have to catch up on them and enhance the development so that everybody is going up at the same level. All that starts from educating the people who are in politics. So as you've said, Patrick, to enhance our education system, you should go together with the people in government. They both need to be educated all the time. I think they should be having a CPD, continuous personal development, the ministers, about corruption and how they're supposed to manage themselves. In Africa, we like assuming that people know. They don't. You have to remind them, if you're in this job, you cannot do A, B, C, D. In the places where we work, it's obvious before. They don't say that from day one, they'll tell you that if you have a gift of 50p or 50 pounds, you can report it to your manager. If it's more than this, report it to someone. If it goes to another level, report it to, because if you don't, that's where corruption goes in. Those things are supposed to be taught even to politicians, to the people in big businesses, as a continuous personal development. Just the way nurses and everybody should be taught these things. We shouldn't assume that somebody will know what Yamano Yachfiadiro, Allah is corrupt. No, we have to teach them not to be corrupt. So yeah, like you said, we need to enhance our education system from the young people, even those who are in the offices. I submit to Kelebai.
Charity begins at home. We shouldn't just leave. Education actually starts from homes. We have to discipline ourselves. As parents, we have to know what kind of information do we want to impart in our offsprings. Do we have to neglect these children and then do our own things in our own way? What kind of adults are they going to grow up out of? How are they going to be when we, the fathers, we, the mothers, show them that we don't care? They are just growing on their own, survival of the fittest. When we are failing to impart just a little bit of discipline or the knowledge of the do's and don'ts. And then when it comes to school with education, there, the children go there to just expand on what they already know, that they have been taught by their parents, of natural knowledge, natural upbringing. Then kufika kusukulu bamba okusambirira, then they start expanding their knowledge. Then we need also to actually include some of these recipes of the current world today. Time is evolving, things evolve. We cannot hold on to study things that are no longer not going to help our children tomorrow in the future, because they have no clue how the world, because we are not telling them what the world is all about. We are leaving a huge portion of the information so that they go and find out themselves when they are adults. And this is the likes of Lusambo. They missed out. And when they are found in a position, and look at what they are now doing, look at the results. We are the collateral damage. We put those people in power, of course, but look at the results. Who is affected at the end of the day? It's us. So it is us collectively. We need to sit down. We have intellectuals that are in government, but these are the people also who are perpetrating this theft. So the question is, should we really blame education? Or it is something that we should start talking about mumayanda, mabakashina balume, abana. We talk about these things. We try, and when you have friends, you have best friends, let's talk about these things. Boy, ishimpia ule tulangeshi. Your colleagues at work, you know, the accountants in departments, you know how much money you are busy trying to put under the table defending your boss. Just come out in a kunona rirufia cell phone, na wallet, with money in it, 2,000, which is almost about 5,000 kwacha in it. Naishire mubas. And guess what happened? There's a policy here. Walufia wallet. Ngawasanga wallet. Ishiri yove. You pick it up. You take it to the police. And the money, they were going to count the money which is in that wallet. And they are going to give you, the person that brought, you will receive 10% of whatever amount of money it is in there. Now, it is not the person, the owner of the wallet who's going to pay you. The government is going to pay you. So, fitampira, and we have lost those things. No, Mulusaka or Zambia. Inche wallet, muchech, mulina 5,000, mu wallet. Do you honestly speaking think people are there praying? Do you honestly think bakambwesha wallet yand or cell phone? I don't think so. Why? It's our morals. So it's saying to change it. Let us just try to change. And sometimes let's not forget that this Bible helps people to change their ways of life. Of course, in some extent, it may be misinterpreted and taken elsewhere. But let us try to inculcate this beautiful knowledge of love and caring, and thou shalt not steal. It is not just there for decoration in the Bible. It has to be taken the way it is, literally. You are not supposed to steal. Even when you are at home, when you are in government, you grow up with such kind of mentality, then you utakuwa bati wakanika theft yaka nono, ichinchi theft ichikalamba. Theft is theft. It's like a sin. There's nothing like a small sin and a big sin. A sin is a sin. So we should learn to do something called in line with our moral codes. So in Milomba, we are a Christian nation, and we have encompassed all other religions. Bale tuseka no kutuseka ama religion bambi. Muneni abale itati ma Christians. Look at what 49 houses. Meanwhile, Muchu Empala, what is his constituency? What's the name of his constituency? Kabushi. Nibanga aba ichaba ba mu street mu Kabushi. Mwebe na Kabushi nami papata. mwiyesha nokwesha kwamba kushita nikasakala wesu awe nami paya. He has killed, he has taken away, he has deprived your children of their future. That's why bale fiala nalek napwish.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Kelebai. And on that note, before we close and bring in the other Bakwetu family for their own analysis, let's talk about family. Today there was a memo that the acting secretary to the cabinet, Mr. Kangwa, issued. I think we all know that in Zambia, I can be working in Kitwe, in the mines, and my wife is a teacher, and they will post my wife in Chipata. Or my wife works for the mines, or she works at Kitwe Central Hospital, and I'm a teacher, they will post me in Kasama. So families are divided. So the new memo came out today saying that strong family relationships are the backbone of our society. Married couples working within the civil service will not be separated due to transfers. What's your take on that? Thank you. Over to you, Barbara.
That's really, really good news. It's something that should have been encouraged from a long time, because the salaries that people earn in the civil service is not so much to start with. So if families are separated and they have to travel, it causes a lot of stress. It's they incur financial losses by traveling, not talking of even calamities, because the more you travel, the more you have a risk of getting involved in an accident. And then just, the unity between partners and children, and the family unit in itself. Having worked as a medical profession in England, when I just started off, when I came into England, unlike America, in America you can work in one hospital for 4 years or 5 years. In England, you create your own rotations. So you can work 6 months in Glasgow, 6 months in London, 6 months in South London, 6 months in Wales, in Ireland, wherever it may be. Having experienced that, it causes a lot of stress, because when you're traveling, you become like one of the family members has to become a suitcase person. So that means you've got your clothes in a carrier bag, in a suitcase. When you travel to work, you come back with your luggage, you find the house, you become disconnected to what is going on in your own home, because people move on when you're not on. And then on top of that, it creates, breakdown of families. People divorce because they're not interlinked, they're not together. There's stress, there's little money. So bringing the families back together is a really, really important thing. And we cannot build, a country where there's breaking up of everything. And I'm talking from experience myself. It's very difficult to rebuild your life after separation or divorce, or even if you're not separated, working from another place, you become two different individuals trying to live in the same house. You spend money on transport money, you spend money, because wherever you be living, you also have a small house unit where you are. You have your own kitchen, you have a small house, you have another house, so you have two homes. In the setting where we are in Zambia with very little finances, it's very difficult. So this is something that we should all welcome, and thanking God that, hopefully it would help out a lot of people. They can save money, they can rebuild their lives, and, just hopefully it works out for the children as well, so that they can, educate their children, as we were saying, because it's very difficult as well to educate children in two different places, because you can't just do it properly. You have to be really stern, you have to be tough, in order to make it through in 2 separate homes. So yeah, it's very welcome news, and I'm glad I don't know why they didn't do it before, but I'm glad they've done it now. And hopefully, it will be very beneficial. And again, I hope people will not misuse it, because if, with life, there's always something that can be misused. If people misuse it, we may go back to square one, because we have to balance people going to go to the rural areas and people staying in the cities. We have sometimes in cases where people marry somebody in inverted commas just so that they can stay in Lusaka or in Kitwe. As long as that is not being misused, that is really, really welcome, and hopefully it carries on. Over to you, Mkelebai.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I really need hande when I heard that the secretary, is it the cabinet, secretary of the cabinet, have come up with such kind of arrangement. And this is what it means when you have a government that has people at heart, that are serving the people, because they listen to the problems of civil servants, or just the citizenry in general. It is very good, and this will deter people like Vena DNA from having extramarital affairs that you take advantage of send which province, and you there you become now a problem. Mambo kuchito buchende. Elo nga bamitwala ku kote ati yo ubuchende bwa maume tabuto benganda. Then you start putting up toma defenses to abufi. So we are so proud of this government that they have come up with this kind of arrangement to strengthen family bonds. So mwewa temasano tumaskabalashes tuakumbali tuma side chicks or queen, what do you call them then? At the slay queens. This government says come up with your upright moral standards, come back and forget about that and save your families. Ngaulea kundola, you are carrying your wives with them. Ngaulea kukasama, you are carrying your family with you. Takuli ati imemishale inena alaya neka. No. Even though tualishba tuwa kalema takaleka, but at least the government is trying to give you hope. Yeah? Is it trying to give us hope to bring the family together? Isentuka kama families. Mule kefia kupela mafumo tuma side chicks. We should not legalize such chicks arrangement. If you want, go back to our customary laws that permits polygamy. Just come out in an open.
Oh, that thought, Mkelebai, that's a subject of another day. Thank you so much, Mkelebai. Thank you, Barbara. Bapesi, you've been listening to our program in the background, tentatively. Your analysis on what, your comments, analysis of what we've spoken about today, before I go to Nyachisengo. Over to you, Bapesi.
Thank you. I hope Bonse Mulibwino and our viewers they are fine. Basically, to be honest, you've covered a lot of things, but I got interested when the doc spoke about the nurses and helping. To be honest, that's very true. That's the problem we have in our hospitals in Zambia. A nurse thinks her job is just to give medicine patrolly. That's it. It's the families who come and do that. Everything is the families. When that's their actual job, not just giving paracetamol, Panadol, whatever. That actually, that was a good point. And then I think you also mentioned about 40 whatever houses. at the moment, I don't feel like talking about him because at the moment it's still just waste of space. So I'll leave him there. But to be honest with you, there's something you haven't spoken about. Two things, even yesterday you didn't speak about. Today I was actually waiting and you haven't spoken about, and I'm gagging to say it. Myself, the problem I have is it seems health and safety in our country doesn't exist. The reason I say that, it's because you had those kids who died or on the thing or on the in the dam, and I don't know, I think they were about 6. And then you had another, the church collapsed, people died. Let's rewind. That owner of that boat at the moment should be facing trial or whatever, but he should be booked in my books. Not in Bakwetu's thing, but that's my opinion.
But Percy, just hold that thought. I 100% support you, but that's a big topic. Can we?
I'm just summarizing it.
We have another day. You know, you and me, we can talk about it and have a program, and we've got a lot of experts here. One of them is
No. I just want to introduce it, just a summary. It's not like I want to talk about it. It's just
thank you,
because it's really hurting me. So let me just say what I think. For the guy for the boat, he needs to start it. The next time we speak, I hope our lawyers will be around and we will be able to ask questions. But in my books, health and safety, the police were supposed to go there and find out what's going on, the health and safety. When you go to the church which collapsed, ngaba structure engineering, ngaba pashe building, iliati people can go and sit and worship. He also has to be facing the music. Anyway, I'll leave it there, but that's how I feel. I just felt, because it was just Churchland Yafi. That's why I had to say it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Percy. We will talk that's a big topic. We will need our lawyers with us, health and safety people, including Banyetseng, Wepo Bariapa. Barbara, she works in hospital. There's a lot of health and safety training in there. I've been thinking about that. It's not only that, Percy, accidents on the Zambian roads. Why are there so many accidents? It's also health and safety. Why are people given expired drugs? Health and safety. So let's find time and talk. It's a big topic, and talk about that. Banya Chisenguwesu, your comment on what we've spoken about today, and welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much. I must say I've been quite disconnected because of what's going on here. I came to work. I'm not with my family. I've been away from my family for 2 months in a different town trying to help with, COVID cases and, and just making sure that everybody's protected, especially the workers. And thank God I'll be going back home tomorrow. No COVID, touch wood. Omicron, like we all know, it's spreading like wildfire. But really and truly, if you're vaccinated and you're triple vaccinated, you are good. You get it, but you get out of it pretty quick. And the regulations are changing day by day. But anyway, the story about health and safety, really and truly, we need to tackle that. And I don't he touched a very fantastic subject that's, very close to my heart. And I'm thinking really and truly it'd be great for us to talk about it. So I'll leave it alone. But right now, one thing that I really want to talk about is the 46 houses. Yes, and I'm sure there's more than 46 houses. And what we've all talked about is we don't want to see anybody. I actually don't want to see anybody going to prison. All I would like to see is that wealth being taken away from people and putting it where it belongs. Taking somebody to prison and, doing whatever. No, let's take those houses. If we can sell them or we can give them to the same Zambian people that he took them away from, let's do that. Or sell them and bring it to the poor. Pay for those students at the university. That's fantastic. You talked about education. All of us here, all of us people here are in the diaspora. The education that we got came from Zambia. Dr. Barbara is able to call herself a doctor because she got her foundation from Zambia. She didn't go to retrain when she went to the UK. The UK was able to recognize her education from Zambia. The moment we start putting down the University of Zambia, that's it. Dr. Barbara again also talked about the fact that people in Cambridge, people in Oxford, they want that prestigious name to stay with the university. And also, you want to go and buy a house in Oxford, you pay through your nose. Do you know where I'm coming from? So the moment we realize that actually the education that we got from Zambia was marvelous, and that's why Beauty is able to even speak English. I didn't learn my English here. My English is from Zambia. So, that's one thing. The fact, that is, and what Hakainde Hichilema is doing in Zambia is absolutely fantastic. Now we understand what he meant by being methodical. It's coming to pass. All we need is the SE and whoever they are, the DCC or whatever they're called, to do their job and do it right. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Banya Chisengo. All I'm going to say is, before we close, is yes, the education system is good in Zambia, because most of us, we were educated in Zambia up to tertiary education, and then we went abroad. I, for one, and most Zambian students, I was a mature student when I came to the UK in my class. I was the oldest, when I came to study here. And believe it, I was one of the best students in my class, coming from Zambia. And there were students from the UK, from America. I went to a very good business school in London. So for me to be a mature student from Zambia and one of the best students, which means the education system in Zambia is good. But again, what I'm trying to say about Barbara, it was very good then. The standards have gone down. And then, Barbara, you also mentioned a very important point, research. If we got a research center at University of Zambia, a very good research, because some of these universities, they are known to be the best because of their research center. Look at Oxford. They came up with a COVID drug. So imagine if we had a good research center at University of Zambia, we would have come up with a COVID drug. And some Zambian politicians were saying, no, we can't administer the COVID drugs to the Zambians. It needs to be tested by Zambian scientists. If we got a research center in Zambia that can test Pfizer drugs, or, so I think there's need to invest money in research, and also knowledge management. But Barbara, you understand what I mean about that. So, but what I'm trying to say is, we've got a government now, especially corruption, because corruption is a cancer. Corruption is probably the biggest problem Zambia has. We would have a lot of money in our coffers, but because of corruption. And even going forward, if we don't tame this corruption, the government won't have money to pay for medication, to do everything. But we've got a government that is serious about fighting corruption. We've got a government that is trying to bring our country to order, to normalcy, bring sanity and order. And also this government believes in equality and equity. And I hope you know these two words are different. They look the same. Equality is giving everybody equal measure, but equity is helping those people in the same way, but better. I'll give an example what the difference between equity and equality. It's like myself and my son, we've gone to the stadium to watch football. And we have to watch over the fence. So equality is giving us the same stand to stand on, the stool. So even if we stand on that stool, the same size, I'm gonna have a better view than my son. But equity is to give us different stools. My son given a higher stool, and I'm given a lower stool, but we watch the same game. And this is what this government is trying to do. They're saying, if you're poor and you cannot afford, we're gonna sponsor you. We're gonna provide the bursaries for you. You know, that's equity. And countries like the UK, America, the government does all these things. They are based on equity. You know, but Barbara, if they are sponsoring your child at the university, it means tested. They will sponsor all the students, but they will look at how much does your parents earn, both of them, means tested. So they will give more money to a student whose parents are earning less and give money less to the parents who are earning more. At the end of the day, we are achieving the same thing. So it's equity. Thank you so much, Bakwetu family. Thank you so much, viewers. Good night. May the good Lord bless Zambia. Bye for now. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.